Peyton. Nice to see you again on this beautiful day. This time with a quote by Hermann Hesse. He writes, "While wandering down the path of wonder, I briefly escape the world of separation and enter the world of unity." So maybe you have some experiences where you experience this kind of unity while wandering down the path of wonder, and you can describe these experiences and share what is valuable about them.
Absolutely. Great to be back here, my friend. And he's talking about an experience that's easy to go without realizing what we're missing in our lives, and also something that's deeply nourishing to our soul, which is this experience of unity or interconnectedness with all things that we experience when we are in a state of wonder, when we're in a state of not analyzing, when we're in a state of not knowing in the way that we are accustomed to knowing with concepts and labels and language, but yet dropping back from all that. And like he says, briefly escaping from all of it. And in my experience, that does capture something that's intrinsic to this, or at least on my path so far, which is this this sensation of wonder, this experience of wonder and unity and interconnectedness tends to come in brief glimpses. This light poking through this veil, so to speak, that is just punctured by little dots, little points in time where the thinking mind, the contraction at the center of our perceived experience can release, and this clenched fist within our awareness can fall away, and all of a sudden the things that we see, the things that we hear, the things that we feel do not seem to be over there anymore. The perceived boundaries of our experience on our skin, or this notion that I have these sensations that are internal to my body, and I have thoughts and somatic feelings that are internal, and then my sights and sounds are external, and this way of perceiving ourselves as a separate object amidst an external world, fighting against it, or grappling against it, separating against it, analyzing, comparing, thinking about it. This habituated way of existence that we lean on to accomplish many things in our lives can relax. This being of separation and otherness from what we're experiencing can drop away. And in these brief moments, and it is something that is, for me at least, usually quite brief, where it's like, ah, and it just lets go. And all of a sudden, I'm just seeing my sights. I'm just hearing the sounds. And I'm not some separate seer, thinker, hearer over here, opposed to this sensation that is over there. But yet, the seeing and the seen is one. The hearing and the heard is one. There is just this one gestalt of experience. There is just one unified, connected, interconnected everything right now. And that sense of unity, that experience of unity, that is often brief, that is often momentary, that is not something that we can hold on to and grasp and learn like a concept, or memorize, or put in our pocket, or master, or grip, or preserve, or multiply, or show off to others, or show off to ourselves, or any of these things. It resists all of those. But yet, at some intuitive level, when we touch that, and we touch it over and over and over, and we pay attention to the cause and effect, it is healing to us. It is connecting to us. It is deeply aligned with our own nature and with our own center of being, our own life energy, or the light that is within us. These unity experiences are so important, and they do correlate a lot with our ability to drop into wonder, to drop this analyzing, knowing, thinking mind, and connect directly and more intimately with the contents of our experience that appear before us. So, very interesting thing that he's pointing to, and really a beautiful way of articulating it. How do you think about unity experiences, or this practice of letting go? and dropping the thoughts about stuff.
Well, thanks for sharing. And I think these experiences are profoundly valuable to filling your days and your life or your moments even with some kind of wonder and some kind of beauty, some kind of internal order of things. Because for me at least, these experiences emerge when I am immersed in nature. Seeing a sunrise or a beautiful sunset from a beautiful nature scenery up in the mountains or from the balcony or just in a garden or next to a tree, or just looking up in the sky and seeing the stars at night. I always feel this sense of wonder. Sometimes it's brief and not so intense, but sometimes I get lucky and these moments are really intense. And this dissolution of the default network you're in, like when you're defaultly operating as a moist robot and doing your habitual stuff day in, day out, you really don't recognize it when you're within the system, when you're within the robot, when you are the robot, just executing whatever habit is ingrained. But in these moments where this intense connection shows up, where this intense kind of feeling of wonder and awe comes up in your body, comes up in your mind, and you feel this connection, and then your default network dissolves like that, just like that. It goes away. Everything falls off. Like every burden melts from your shoulders like wax or whatever. Everything just comes into a flow, and you don't judge yourself anymore. You just are there connected with yourself, with this experience. You don't feel this separation anymore. You have this connection with this experience. If you feel small or profoundly big, whatever it is, in these kinds of brief moments, this sense of wonder kicks in and you feel like connected. You belong where you are. And this is this alignment um, I am looking for in life and in moments of my life. And try to invite much more often this kind of alignment with the core of your being, with your experiences as it is, and with the vast world of wonders surrounding us. It is already there, is the message there, maybe. It is already there every time. You can access it anytime. You can access it right now. What hinders you in accessing this kind of curiously looking upon the world, the things you are interacting with, or the things you see, or the humans you connect with? What is hindering you from experiencing this moment fully? Most of the time, it's just our habitual thoughts. It's just our automatisms, our most moist robot selves, which just wanna circumvent every kind of misstep, whatever, so they don't engage. So there's this comfort zone in which you can live and which living is really comfortable, but you don't take any risks. So you don't get the rewards back if you don't take the risk and really try to immerse yourself in the moment. You may be forgetting about some plans you had, or you may be forgetting about some solution idea that came up, whatever. Um, so you take the risk in just letting go of these thoughts or these patterns or this train of thoughts, which is like keeping you where you are and trying to solve a difficult business problem and so on. But if you don't take the risk in letting this go, then you won't likely get the reward in totally immersing yourself in nature, in wonder, in this feeling of connection and belonging, in this dissolution of your own ego. And that is um, that is something I wanna try to facilitate feeling in my own life. So I wanna go into nature more. I wanna look at more sunsets. I wanna really immerse myself in my own curiosity. And maybe you have some experiences where you think, okay, when I go there, then it is more likely that I experience this kind of wonder, this kind of dissolution. I want to share about when is it more likely for you experiencing this, Peyton?
I actually have the main one that you mentioned in common to a large extent. This is why I love to spend time in nature. This is why I love to hike. This is why I love to adventure. This is why I love to go out and explore and explore for me, not just in stillness with a vista, but also in motion. I don't know exactly why, but for me, I sense a really vivid trigger when I'm walking in nature, and I can kind of see the visual surroundings pass by me and have this sense of me going forward through the environment into the visual field and then flip my perspective to allow the entire visual field to be going backwards past me and through me. And leaning into this visual perception and this sense of flow with my body moving and trying to tap into multiple senses at once, where it's like I'm trying to be aware of my seeing as well as my hearing as well as my sense of my body and the movement of my body and the sensation of my feet and my sense of smell. When I try to feel and directly sense several senses at once, it tends to force me to let go of the thinker because really only only one sense at a time can play telephone with your brain where you're looking at this, you're labeling the sights you see, you're putting things into little buckets, little categories, you're analyzing, you're judging. This really limits you to kind of one sense at a time for at least most of the time when we pay attention to it. But in order to pay attention to several senses at a time, we are forced into dealing with our senses directly. We're not talking about one sense at a time like we tend to, but instead we are directly experiencing several senses at a time. And we are alert without using thought. We are completely aware without using thought and more directly than when we are mediating our senses by concepts. And so this nature and nature walks and even nature runs are very good triggers for me because they make it much more natural to let go of the commentary, the judgment, the labeling, the thinking, and definitely the rumination about stuff that's not even here. And what you pointed to there of this, it's already there. And this sense of unity being something that's not exactly something that we do, in fact, when we touch unity. This isn't some heroic action. This isn't some even meditation state necessarily. This isn't some activity or impressive mode of concentration or intense focus of attention or a really impressive line of memorization. Of course, it's none of those things that are sort of how we're typically used to applying effort with the mind to achieve various things or to think various things or to access various states or thoughts or emotions. Rather, this is something that's categorically different from those things because the sense of unity, the sense of pure awareness, or the sense of um, directly enveloping our experience with the light, or realizing that our experience is, in some ultimate sense, all made of the same light. This is something that is much more of a dropping away rather than an adding a new activity. This isn't trying to do something new and trying to make this cause and effect happen via effort, but rather it's accepting that this thing that is ultimately better than anything that we can do with effort within our mind, this thing that is more fruitful than anything that my mind can think and put concepts together and effort and focus and really try to make happen. This thing that is more whole, more unified, more healing, more beneficial, and more wise than any of the effects of my efforts is something that is the one thing that is freely given. This one thing that doesn't need to be earned, that doesn't need to be forced, that doesn't need to be efforted, that doesn't need to be strived for, and in fact can only arise when we let go of all of these normal ways of striving and efforting and focusing and trying and doing. It's a natural characteristic of the subtle but ever present nature of our being. This is something that is intrinsic, in some sense, to the very essence of the light which illuminates our entire experience of consciousness. And it is always already available to us if we can let go of all of the stuff that we tend to be doing nonstop with our mind. The thoughts that are rolling and rolling and rolling in our heads, the problem solving that's going and going and going. We don't get an off switch to this that's just kind of easily given to us and works really well that evolution decided to bestow upon us, because this thought, this thinking, this anticipating, this risk mitigation, this anticipating different dangers in the environment, this endless rumination that tends to cause so many of us to feel so trapped within our minds so much of the time. It was actually really useful for us to survive back in the day. We really wanted to be alert and looking out for snakes all the time if we wanted to maximize the probability of passing on our genes. And so there really isn't a good off switch to this baseline neuroticism that our human being species is plagued with. But it is nonetheless something that is available to us via practice, via awareness, and via a posture of letting go and humbly intending to accept this grace that is our birthright within the very essence of who we really are beneath the surface of the vessel of this body and mind. And this intrinsic capacity, or this intrinsic nature of wonder, of awe, of presence, of unity, of wholeness that we can access directly, instantaneously, by letting go of our normal activity of our mind, is in fact so much more healing and so much more nourishing, and has a greater capacity and an instantaneous ability to recognize and intuit the way to flow within whatever situation we are in. This is something that's incredibly, incredibly useful, as well as something that has a deep sense of intrinsic peace already within it. And so it's,
And
yeah, definitely something
you,
that's, go ahead.
you sometimes talk about a sunrise, a sunset, and
Yeah.
if you just let go, and can you tell me the kind of quote you always share, where the amount you give yourself to it, this is the
Yeah.
amount you can experience.
Yeah,
Can you give
absolutely.
it to me?
It's I'll probably butcher the quote as I do with most quotes, but basically it's this idea that when you see a sunrise, you can't take it, you can't grab it, you can't grasp it, you can't hold on to it. And if you just are thinking about comparing and judging and labeling it, then you aren't actually directly accessing the awe that it is capable of bringing you. And the quote is that you can only receive this sunset to the extent that you give yourself to the sunset, to the extent that you open yourself to this, to the extent that you wholeheartedly give your full attention in this sense of devotion to this experience that is right here, right now. And a lot of things can be like a sunset in that way. A conversation that we have with a loved one can be like that, where we receive the greatest nourishment from this thing to the extent that we fully open ourselves to it and give ourselves to it. And same with even the more mundane things. I can only experience a total presence of being and a wonderful experience of wholeness while doing my dishes if I am fully giving myself to doing my dishes and being all the way there and fully embracing what is emerging right here, right now. What do you think about integrating a practice of this unity or this wonder or this letting go in our regular day to day or week to week lives?
Well, thanks for sharing again the quote that, yeah, if you surrender to this experience, you co-create it for yourself. You give yourself to it and it emerges even more. It is already there, but you can choose to just look at your phone, and you can choose to just let it pass by. Okay, then it's an opportunity which never will arise in that kind of specific alignment anytime anymore. So if you surrender yourself and if you let go, this is one idea which you triggered in my head right now, is the dropping away of things that keep you from it. You just need to be reminded to access this kind of wonder of this kind of realm of wonders of the world. Just look at a child. Just look at a toddler exploring the world and toddling around, and you see instantly, oh, this little guy doesn't have any kind of ego structures yet. This little guy just explores. This little guy is just curious. The child will access anything and will like have this sense of, whoa, what is that? Like my little niece just got baptized, and there's a photo in our family chat where she goes and grabs the maculature, this old paper, and says, whoa, look at that. I was like, oh yeah, that's so beautiful, so beautiful. This is the sense of wonder I want to access again. I want to look at the world like a child, like with curiosity. We have trained ourselves away from that because we think if we can categorize everything, if you can say, okay, this is like that, this is like that, this is like that, we feel a sense of security. We release maybe some kind of anxiety. But if we really are curious about the things that are happening, maybe we feel some insecurity again. Maybe we feel some anxiety again. But what? It's like part of the human experience, isn't it? There's no goal to release any anxiety. But when you feel anxiety, maybe this can also be a signal that you are risking something, that you are approaching a new kind of experience, and that you gain the optionality to gain so much out of it, this connection, this unity, this sense of awe and wonder when you go out in nature, when you connect with a new kind of person, when you reflect upon your life and discover something really meaningful to yourself, because you now tell yourself a different story because there was this piece of information you didn't know, so you interpreted it a totally different way. But now the whole past and your interpretation of your past changed just because you gained a new insight, which is also a source of awe and wonder, if you want to have it like that. And so I think one goal could be building a life where, like, parts of the desired outcome you want to have, like the dance, is we do not want to optimize it prematurely for anything we think we want. We want to live our life with curiosity, but also having some kind of vague idea about how do we want to live our life, how at the end of our life, what do we want to be remembered, what do we want to stand for, what do we want to embody, which kind of value system, which kind of belief system do we ourselves want to project into the world so other people can utilize our legacy whatsoever. And building a life where this desired outcome or this end is already implemented in your day-to-day life. So it's more like a design approach where you iterate upon it and adapt it again and try to find some ways to really make your days count and your hours and your moments. Experience the sense of awe and wonder, like this little cat is just walking through the frame and trying to connect with the Peyton. And he
Tiger's full of
just
wonder.
Tiger is full of wonder, wandering around the world, just seeing the world through the eyes of a predator.
Yeah.
Once I followed like a GoPro footage of a cat, like chasing down another cat, and they're like wild.
I want to go pro for these guys so bad.
Yeah. You should get one. And yeah, we now back to via negativa again, letting things go away. Don't treat your days as something to be overcome because there's so much on the plate. You want to be more productive, to do the things you don't even wanted to do in the first place so that you can overcome them faster. But that is maybe not the right approach. Maybe choose the things you really want to do and, and be productive with them, to not like really do the things you don't want to do and be more productive within them, so that your days, yeah, sometimes it's good to have this means to an end, but to live your daily life all the time in a way that you want it to end, that is not a life worth living. So better drop away the things that are drawing your energy, that are draining your your mental agility, that are draining your energy. Just let go of the things that are hindering you to connect, to have meaningful things in your life, meaningful creativity, and seek wonder, seek beauty, practice any art you find, and try to find the beauty in the commonplace, and just surrender yourself to the things that are happening around, to the things you experience. And with that, I believe your perceived borders, which separate you from the world or from people you may want to connect to, just break down. These borders dissolve, and can be as easy as a walk in nature. And with that, maybe you have some closing thoughts or ideas which got triggered, some surrender experiments which you want to
Yes.
conduct.
Yes, the area that I see once again in my own practice, in my own life, that keeps me the most reliably separated from this, from the potential of a freer way of being, from a more awake way of being, is this constant habit of the mind to be planning and anticipating and solving problems and looking for risks and opportunities and surveying the land and think about what interactions are upcoming and what I'm going to need to do to handle them well. And this never-ending manager part within the mind that always wants to be continuously thinking and anticipating, and oftentimes much more repetitively than I hold it to account for. And so this is the of the via negativa for me in my own case. It's not even necessarily the categories of things that I need to reduce, because this manager is thinking about a category of things that I am in fact occupied with much of the time. However, this most important thing for me to grow and become more aware of and just practice on a daily basis more is saying that, okay, yes, thank you for all the work you're doing, manager part, but let's take a rest. Let's actually listen to some of the other voices and what they might have to say. This voice of stillness, this experience of peace. This can also be valuable for the same ends that this manager planner is trying to anticipate and plan and think around and ruminate over, etc. So that is an area that I find myself over the course of this journey. That is the thing that seems to have the highest gravitational pull for me. And so it's something that I am inspired to continue to bring more awareness to see when do I have that balance, what boundaries do I need, how can I have selective via negativa where, okay, after 7 p.m. it is not the time to be thinking about this. We can rest and experience a deeper state of wholeness, or unity, or awe, or don't know mind, or experiencing that experience can feel like an open sky rather than like a clenched fist. And so that's something that I'm very much intending to bring more awareness into this week and into my life, because I have quite a long way to go on that. What about you, my man? What are your intentions out of these things?
Yeah, man. My intentions is to
Ah,
amp up
he may have
my.
lost his connection. So I'm sure his intentions are good as well. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you next week. Thank you, Johannes.
See you, Peyton, and be curious and seek a sense of wonder and beauty.